In life, we encounter people every day, all of whom have stories to share. We rarely take the time to ask people their personal stories, many of which will touch, move, and inspire us in some way. Matt has a passion for making authentic connections and learning about people from all walks of life. He has lived a life of giving back to the community and making a difference in people's lives. Are you ready to meet fascinating people and hear some inspiring stories? The Matt Hilton Show will introduce you to a world of possibilities you never knew existed. Sit back, be present, and enjoy. Here's your host, Matt Hilton.
Coming up on this episode of the Matt Hilton Show is a great friend of mine, and you want to listen to her story. She is an author, and she's lived all over the place and has had a colorful life. Stay tuned for a word from our sponsor.
With almost 20 years of real estate experience in the North Texas area, the professional realtors at Hilton Realty Advisors have helped over 500 clients with their housing needs. Hilton Realty Advisors covers all areas of real estate: buying, selling, building, investing, and renting. We deliver the keys to homeownership to all through integrity, love, and joy. Call us today for all of your real estate needs.
Hey everyone, Matt Hilton here, the host of the Matt Hilton Show. Thanks for tuning in today. A guest of mine today is an actual queen. And yes, I mean a queen in several ways. She is a great friend of mine, and her saying is she's an Annie Oakley in a Jackie Kennedy world. So let's welcome my guest today, Kathie Truitt. Kathie, thank you for being here.
We have our studio audience is so cute. I expect you all to bow, you know.
It's so funny.
Oh my goodness.
So you are a queen.
Well, I used to be. I was Miss Senior United States several years back, and
2018, 19?
2019 and 20. That was fun.
Yeah.
But this, just lasted for a little bit. And I do have a great big crown, and I wear it around the house and to feed cows and things like that. Every once in a while I wear it, but I really don't. But it's perched up where I can admire it when I walk by. Remind myself of what a fun year that was.
Yeah.
So. And
Miss Missouri too, I believe.
Oh, Mrs. Missouri years ago, like in 1996. Yeah, 1996, and that was really fun. That was a lot of fun. So my best friend was Miss Missouri USA, and so when she was crowned, I went to her reception. I mean, she had a huge reception and dinner and dancing and big band music and all of that. And when I won, I went up to my room on the 7th floor and changed a dirty diaper. So that's the difference between Miss Missouri and Mrs. Missouri. Yes. So anyway, but it was fun. I got to travel with the family and the kids and everything. It was just a fun time.
Yeah.
Fun time in my life.
And you're a fun person.
Oh, well, thank you. I try to.
Yeah. So I follow you on social media, as I'm sure everyone here in the audience does as well.
Good.
And so you've had a quite illustrious life.
Wow.
So let's talk about growing up in Missouri and what got you, how did you get to Washington, D.C.?
So I grew up in a small town and married my high school sweetheart, and he wanted to have a career in the Air Force, and so he did for about 6 years, and his father became ill. And when we came back to the United States, we lived in England, we came back to the United States, and my career was in radio. And so I went to the station in Kansas City, and Kansas City is so country. It's a big city, but it is just, they call it a big cow town, and it really is. And this radio station had a farm department, and they wanted to know, in addition to your duties, can you do the farm reports? I'm like, no. I said, but I know somebody that can. And because Jay is very big in agriculture, that's actually what took us to Washington, D.C. But we were sitting there, and so they interviewed Jay as well, and we ended up at the same radio station. It was a great job for him. It took him all around the world reporting on agriculture events, like to China and to Brazil, as well as the United States, Australia, places like that. And then so it was embarrassing. His first day was embarrassing. It was awful. And so we went home that morning, and I said, look, you're embarrassing me. Don't ruin this for me. All you have to do when you open the microphone, just pretend you're talking to your dad over morning coffee. And do you know, from that day on, he was perfect. And he went on to win major national speaking awards, broadcast awards. And to this day, he has a great speaking career. He just finished speaking to the Fort Worth Fort Worth, Texas, the Texas Bankers Association. He was one of their keynote speakers this last week. And so after that, he was hired by several agricultural lobbying firms, which took us to Washington, D.C. And that's where the Annie Oakley in a Jackie Kennedy world comes from, because in Washington, D.C., all the women like to think that they're Jackie Kennedy, and they wear these little straight dresses and things like that. And I just never quite fit in. Of course, with all the makeup, I also like to say I'm Tammy Faye Baker in a Jackie Kennedy world, you know. But anyway, it was a great time. It was a great experience. But when the last child graduated from high school, we went to bed one night and I said, you know, I love you, but I hate this place more. I'm sorry, Washington, D.C. people. I know they have people going to be watching this, but I said, I'm going to Texas tomorrow. And we can go back and forth. Well, the first thing he did is sit straight up. He goes, are we okay? I said, yeah, we're fine. I've done my part, and you don't need me like you used to. And I've always wanted to be in Texas. And he's from Texas originally. And the funny thing is, everywhere I have ever lived in my entire life, people have thought I was from Texas. It got to the point to where, you know, oh, you're from Texas, aren't you? And I just say, yeah. You know, had never lived there. I'd been there a lot, had never lived there. So finally, I got to be from Texas. So I moved here.
So what was the attraction to want to live in Texas so bad?
What is there not to be attracted by? I mean, that's the question. What is there not to be attracted by? I love the people. The Texas people are your best resource. I love the people. I love the women. I love Texas women. I just love them. They're supportive of each other. They're beautiful. I don't see Texas women as being uber competitive with each other. I have never been in a situation to where some woman has not said to me, oh my gosh, I love your hair, I love your shoes, I love your, it's always a love fest. Now, of course, it's like any other places. You're going to find people that are competitive and not nice. But 95% of the people here, the women, are just so wonderful. And I need that connection with women. And of course, I'm a little out there myself. And this doesn't work. All this, it doesn't work many places outside of Texas. It really doesn't. And so every time I would visit and every time I came here as a child, I just felt like I fit in. And so that is my love affair with Texas. And I'm not living here right now, but I am going to come back. I'm going to come back for good.
Are we excited about that?
Yay. They're like, oh no, here she comes again. But no, I'm going to get back here. So we ended up in Puerto Rico for a while, and we are back now in Missouri helping parents. We have aging parents and helping them. But I'll be back for good.
Yeah. So talking about this and this, I mean, you've had outfits of the day, the OOTD, and
yes,
you have hats. I'm surprised you didn't wear a hat today. So tell us about that and how that is going for you, and what do you plan to do with that? So
one of the reasons I started Outfit of the Day is my friend Kevin is here with us today, and we worked together. We were both recruiters for a real estate company, and we had to be out every single night. I mean, we ran from, about 9 a.m. until 7 or 8 at night. And one thing I love about Kevin, and you were also my boss, that's how we started out. One thing I've always loved about you and Kevin is you just let me be myself. You didn't make me button up and wear a suit. I could wear what I wanted and be what I wanted. And as I met younger women in the real estate industry, they would come up to me and they would say, you make me not afraid to get old. And I was surprised by that. I'm like, is that a thing? Are people afraid to get old? And some of these women were really afraid to get old, and they saw me having a lot of fun and having fun with clothes. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to squelch that. So we started doing Outfit of the Day, and I just started. It wasn't just, oh, I'm cute, look at me and see what I'm wearing. I always try to be inspiring and saying, I'm this age and I'm wearing this. Why can't you wear what you want? On the other hand, I have a lot of women over 50 that say to me, I just feel invisible. I feel like I'm not seen. And I wanted to encourage them. So while I do believe you can be anything you want and do anything you want up until the day you die, God bless her, my friend Margaret just died at 104 and just passed away. And it's a shock because she was so healthy and active and didn't use a walker and still cute and had her mind. And so I want women to know they can be Margaret. But even Margaret, in her older age, knew she had to step out of her box a little bit. And I tell women, it works for you to, when you're young and naturally fresh, people will pay attention to you. But as we get older, we have to step out of our box a little bit. And I'm not telling you have to get this crazy haircut and wear the crazy clothes, but maybe a big brooch or a hat or something that's a conversation piece that you're wearing. It starts with that because that's the first thing people see. Maybe it's a pair of shoes that are, so maybe you wear a plain outfit, but your shoes are crazy or fun. Just some kind of conversation piece to make people go, oh, that is so cute. Where did you get that? And, I have my haters. I have my haters that are, you're just on there showing off and you're narcissistic, thinking people care about what you wear. And I say, it's not about that. Do you know how many friends? I now have about 6,500 followers, and I maybe know 200 of them. But do you know how many friendships have started by, I like that hair, or I like that jacket, and friendships start, and women start talking to each other, and you make friends, and or if you're not willing to step out of your box with the way you look, you're going to have to smile more, and you're going to have to be a little bubbly, or to be conservative and dress conservative and have nothing out there. I don't know what to tell you. And you know what? Some people like that. Some people want to be invisible, and that's perfectly fine. There's no right or wrong way. That's perfectly fine if that's what you like. But if that's not what you like, you're going to get to an age where you have to work at that.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that because that was my follow-up question. What if somebody wants to be invisible?
And that's fine. I think there's no rule for that. It's all about being yourself. It's all about being yourself. Yeah.
And I appreciate your comments encouraging women to step out of their box and dress in ways that people will notice. I'm not a woman and I do that, right?
You
so
do.
I
You're a
dress
sharp dresser.
in ways that people notice as well, and it is a conversation piece. And I feel good when I dress and people notice, right? And I'm sure that's the same with you.
Yes. I think you feel like being a nicer person when you're dressed up, or dressed, not necessarily dressed up, but dressed the way you want to be dressed, of what makes you feel good, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I think it just makes you feel better.
And you summed it up in be you.
Be you, absolutely.
That's
be
it.
yourself.
Yeah.
Be yourself.
Yeah.
So
when you were in D.C., you had some great experiences there. Can you think of something that stands out in your mind while you were in D.C. besides what this book is based on? And we'll get to that in just a second. But what is a happy memory that you have there in D.C.?
Oh, so many happy memories. So many happy memories. I think my most fun memory is, two things. Jay worked at the White House a lot, and he would come home every day. Instead of talking about the president, he would talk about Barney, the Scottish Terrier. So he would always come home and tell Barney stories. And so the first time I saw Barney, he was out on the White House lawn with a Secret Service agent doing his business. And I'm like, that guy did not sign up. He did not go to Secret Service school to be that. He had on the shades and a black suit and all that. I'm thinking, oh, bless his heart. He did not go to school to be that. But that was a fun memory. And then another, we always got to go to the White House Christmas party. But once a year, they had what was called the President's Dinner. And this was not at the White House, but it was a big event center. And so we would go to that. And one year we went and we were leaving. And as we were leaving the building, the sea parted. And I'm like, well, what is all of this about? Well, coming right at me was James Brown. James Brown, I feel good. James Brown, that James Brown. And you're used to seeing all these celebrities and everything there, but he was the last person I expected. And I looked at him and I looked at him and he looked at me and I go, well, Mr. Brown, what are you doing here? And he grabbed me and he kissed me straight on the lips, and so that was a good memory. All the way home, I heard about that. Yeah, I'm not going to kiss you ever again. Who knows how many women he's kissed, So
That's
would.
great.
But those are really fun memories.
Yeah. And you and Jay have had a great life together.
Yes.
And what's the secret of your relationship?
It'll be 42 years. So do you know what I tell people the secret is to our marriage? Are you ready? You ready to take notes? I am easy to live with. Nobody's laughing.
Because we
That was
all
a
know
joke.
differently. No.
That was a joke. Y'all can laugh at that. No, I am not easy to live with. I mean, I'm not. And sometimes he's not either. But mostly, I'm spoiled. I was spoiled by my mom and dad, and spoiled by him. But so what is the secret? I don't know. I still think he's the cutest boy I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I still think he has this cool factor, and he's just so cool. The way he walks is just cool. And he stole that line from George Bush. In Texas, we call that walking, But he has this strut, just the way he walks, and he's hilarious. Sometimes he's not as funny as he thinks he is, but he's funny, and there have been times that the only reason I have stayed with him is because I haven't had a scriptural reason to divorce him, and that. But I think everybody goes through that, because sometimes I get mad at him, not for a very, very long time, and I think it's always been over stupid things, that I've been mad about. I think when we were younger, I was mad that he worked constantly all the time, and and here I am. But you know what? I never put that on my children. I never said, well, your dad should be here and I shouldn't be doing all of this. But because the fact is, he was doing all of that so we could have a good life. So you have to put it in perspective. But as far as the secret, I have no clue, other than I just tell him the reason we've been together so long is just because it's me. I'm easy. That's just not true. But I don't have a secret.
If he was sitting here, what would he say? Jay, let's see if this is true or not. Yeah.
He would say, hands down, Kathie is so easy to live with. No, he would not. I don't know what he would say.
Okay.
So one time, I remember he gave you love advice, and he said to you, I will always remember this, you have to decide if the juice is worth the squeeze. Do you remember him telling you that? And so every once in a while, I think, okay, am I being worth the squeeze?
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of compromise. And so sometimes, this is going to sound crazy, but sometimes I get mad at him for being so good to me, because he will not let me reciprocate. He won't let me say, oh, no, let's do what you want to do for vacation, or let's do what you want to eat, or something like that. And so sometimes he's so good that he won't let me turn around and be good to him. And right now that's my only complaint about him. He's too good to me. That sounds so fake, doesn't it? But I think you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. Yeah. And I think that is a testament to who you are as a couple, and the example you are to other people.
I hope so.
You and I worked together, and we talked about that. You mentioned it a little bit earlier, and that was one of the things that I was attracted to you is just your openness, your loving spirit. You say what's on your mind. You don't hold back.
I try to be kind about it. I mean,
you do.
I don't. There's some things you just leave unsaid. You just don't. It doesn't. Does not need to be said unless you ask me, and then I'm, gonna be truthful.
But you do have an approachable spirit too.
Well, thank you.
So
Thank
most
you for
definitely.
that. Thank you for
Most
that.
definitely. So let's talk about False Victim. So she is a critically acclaimed author of False Victim, based on a true story, and the Hillbilly Debutante Cafe. So False Victim.
Okay, so False Victim, I'm just going to be honest, we're not going to spend a lot of time on that because I'm way over it. But it is an event that happened to us in Washington, D.C. In a nutshell, our family, my little boy and I, from the time he was 6 till he was 10, we had a stalker. And it was horrific. It's the worst thing I've ever been through in my entire life. And I just decided to write about it. I wanted to have, it changed me, so changed me. There is a Kathie from July 30th, 1962 to May 24th, 2002. And the day that started, that Kathie was gone, And so I'm different now than I was. And
In what way?
it just, she tried to take my child. She wanted my little boy. And to know our history, our kids are 10 years apart. We had a baby boy that died in between those two. So when William came along, he wasn't just special to me and to Jay, his sister, who was 10 at the time. I mean, they're now married and have their own children. And he is still her baby, even at 28. That's still her baby. And he loves her more than he does me. I mean, they're that close. And so to go through, he was that special. And to go through something like that was very difficult. And it just completely changed me. So there's PTSD. I have to really work hard as to where being good-natured and sweet-tempered was natural. Now I have to work harder at it. I'll just be honest. I have to work harder at that now. And the longer I get away from that, the easier it becomes, But it was a movie. The movie was called The Neighbor in the Window on Lifetime. They really botched it up, but the check cashed. So that's all I care. That's all I care. So if you watch The Neighbor in the Window and you think you know the story, no, you've got to read the book. So,
got to read the
anyway,
book.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Next.
No, I do have another question. You told me there were no questions.
I told you there's nothing off limits.
So I read the book, and I have to ask, I have never been charged with anything. I've never been in a courtroom as a defendant. What is that like when you're sitting there and you did not do this?
It is devastating. It is absolutely devastating because I was always proud of my reputation, always proud of being the good girl. And, one of our studio audience members knows me from when I was a little girl. I could be ornery, but for the most part, I was a good girl and I was nice to everyone. And, I used to hear a lot, "You're the nicest person I've ever met." I used to hear that a lot. And I was proud of that because I think being kind to people is the most important thing you can be. And all of a sudden I'm hearing all these things about me that are not true and I'm being charged, and I could go away and not see my child grow up and not get out until he's 15 and he's 7 now or 6 now. And it was devastating. On all levels. I had to learn. One thing I learned about that is I think I worshiped my reputation. And so now I just don't really care. I still try to be kind.
Tell me more about that. What is worshiping your reputation?
I worshipped my reputation. I reveled in that. I liked loving and being loved back. I loved that. I never had an enemy. I had never had hardly a cross word really with anyone. I mean, or if you did, it was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean that," and you kissed and made up. And I had just never had to fight before. I had never had to fight before, and especially to fight for my child. It wasn't just my reputation, but she wanted to remove my little boy from the home. And also, I took great pleasure in the fact that while nothing is perfect in life, it was pretty close. Mom and dad, 2 kids, a dog, 2 dogs, 2 cats, a mom and dad that love each other, and children that were sweet and got good grades. I mean, it was just as perfect as it could possibly be. And I loved that. We worked hard for that, So, and there was something threatening that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Next.
Next. So, the Hillbilly Debutante Cafe. You wrote about.
I did.
Yeah, your hometown,
we wrote about a small town in Missouri. So we won't mention that name because they don't want any attention. So we're just not going to mention their name. But I wrote this. My childhood was idyllic. I had a wonderful childhood, and so I had just come out of this, and this is what I wanted life to be. This is what I just wanted life to be, and I wanted to go back to that. I thought I wanted to go back to that town, and so while the characters are false, they're real to me. You know, they're very real to me, and I would go back to town to visit, and I would see these people. I would see these people that I made up, and it was just fun. It was a fun book. This is my baby. This one was top 10 Screencraft winner, Screencraft finalist. And I was hoping, at one point we had sold it for movie option and it didn't work out. And I doubt that I'll pursue that again, you know. But I did move back to the hometown and opened a store in the building where this took place. And once again, it was a dream come true. I saw all the people, all the characters, and all of that. And then anyway, but yeah, I love that book. And I have the follow-up halfway finished. I may or may not finish that. I haven't decided yet.
I think you should.
You know, I might. You know, we'll see.
So in writing a book, I mean, I know False Victim is a true story, based on a true story, and the Hillbilly Debutante Cafe, it seems like you wrote it and you were trying to make a dream come, like you were self-professing what was going to happen, right? So having that come true, what is that feeling?
So first of all, there are a few characters that are very, very, very loosely based on people, like the guy that bathed in the park. He was loosely based on someone, and I just took it and ran, you know, from there. It was surreal to take a real life. It is life imitating art instead of art imitating life, you know. And so it was fun. And when I built the store, I knew that. So I know my following, and I know my fan base, and I know my pull, and I knew people would come. But I had to have something for the local people. And I thought, well, I can't do a cafe, but I could do a pie shop. You know, and it was very successful, and people did. They came from all over, and it was just amazing. Actually, we had a couple from Texas that would come once a month, from Dallas, come once a month, and he would sit at one of the tables all day, eat pie and drink coffee, and his wife would shop. They'd get there at 10 a.m. and the store closed at 5, and they'd leave, you know, and come back. And once a month they did that, and got to know some of the locals. You know, and but yeah, it was fun. So I know people are going to be wondering what happened to the store. So Kathie did something stupid.
So I want to ask you about that.
I did something stupid.
So on my birthday I think it was last year, May 25th of 22.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. You painted something.
I did.
What did you paint?
It was May 24th.
Oh, 24th.
24th. So it's on a little corner, and there was a bench, a black cast iron bench. And I'm not going to lie to you, I looked at that bench for one whole year. And even Jay said, Kathie, you've got to paint that. You've got to do something with that. He's going to be mad that I said that now. He's going to be mad. I've thrown him under the bus. But he said, you've got to do something. I thought, I know. I've been thinking about it. Yeah. And so I watched the bench. No one ever sat on it. No one ever paid attention to that blasted bench, okay? No, but I thought, how great if that bench was a celebrity in town. Hey, let's meet at the bench. Let's go have a selfie in front of the bench. You know, let's sit out there and eat our pie on the bench. And then in the wintertime, why don't we put blankets and gloves and pillows on the bench in case a homeless person wants to lay there or whatever. What if we did that? And so my artist friend and I decided to paint it pink and black stripe. And then we were going to she was going to come in and put butterflies going across like that. And I was going to prop a bicycle against it and put a sign above it. And just, like I said, just make the bench a celebrity. And I asked around. I asked the chamber, and I asked the girls at the city, who owns this bench? Anybody know? I mean, and so nobody really knew. So Mary and I decided, first of all, she goes, Kathie, let me do that. And I'm like, no, I want to do it and you finish it. Oh, thank you, Jesus, that I said that, because she would be in trouble. Then she would be in trouble. But so I put the first coat on May 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
And by May 25th, they came and pulled it up. Mary and I decided, I told Mary, I said, you know what, I'm going to do this. If whoever it owns it doesn't like it, then I will pay to have it fixed. We'll paint over it, or we'll just buy a new bench. We'll just do that. Coming from Washington, D.C., I live in a world where you just throw money at stuff. And so I'm just thinking, they don't like it, I'll just write a check and buy them a new one. Who would be mad at that? Oh, my goodness. It literally, a bench that no one paid attention to, remember? No one cared about. It literally divided the town.
It became a celebrity.
It became a celebrity, but not in the way that I intended. I have apologized and apologized and apologized. I have tried so many times. So finally, and it wasn't just about the bench. It wasn't just about the bench. But so finally, I hired an attorney. And I'm going to tell you why I hired an attorney, because this is a funny story. So a lot of people were mad that I hired an attorney, that I couldn't just go down and pay it. Well, I have a letter stating that I couldn't just go down and pay it. They wanted to take me to court. Mm-hmm. So the first week I was in town, before I knew I was moving back, I decided to meet my mom and dad at a restaurant in town for lunch. So I go into this restaurant in a black tutu and cowboy boots and this hair and black lipstick. Okay, and I walk in and sit down, and the town judge and his wife get up and move across the restaurant. So I knew when it came time that I was possibly would not be looked at in the best light. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's why I got an attorney and had it moved to the next town over. So, and everybody wants to know, I paid $580.84 to fix the bench.
And how was it fixed?
I have no clue. I really don't know. I've never seen that bench again. I've just never seen it. So I'd like to have it, but I'd like to have it back. But it was funny because my customers, there was another business in town that painted his bench pink. And then customers brought me 2 pink benches to put outside on my front stoop, and so I still had a pink bench out there. But oh my goodness, I never in a million years thought that would cause so much trouble. And of course, I would never have done it if I had thought it was going to be that big of a deal. So I feel bad about that, but I have apologized and just don't know what else to do. So anyway.
Yeah, life goes on.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So anyway.
So Kathie, who is someone in your life that has inspired you to be who you have become?
Oh, okay. So because like I said, when I worked for you had no rules. But the number one person I have to say is my friend Kevin Caskey. I have never had, because like I said, we started out being friends. He was my boss from the moment I moved to Dallas. Right. He was my boss, and then he became my boss in a different direction when we recruited. And there were never, as long as I was appropriate, there were never any stipulations on who I had to be or what I had to be, and I think that's why I was good at my job, is because I didn't have to be someone that I wasn't. Mm-hmm. And and I think that probably created and sparked a lot of my creativity of what I do today on social media. I just have to tell you that.
Okay. So. Well, fantastic. And Kevin is in the audience.
He is in the audience.
Yeah. A few shades of red, but he's here.
But he is, it's fun because we get a lot of tongues wagging, about being best friends, but people just don't know that he was my boss first. Mm-hmm. And my whole family loves him. My whole family loves Kevin. Jay loves him. My kids love him. My grandkids, my mom and dad. And, he's part of the family. Yeah. So, and it all just, started that way.
You've mentioned a couple of times, and I did as well, as far as us working together. And I believe I've shared this with you, but I want people in the audience and who are tuning in today to hear this part of the story as well. When we worked together, how did that happen? Do you recall how you became a member of that office and of the company?
I do, but I don't know how much you want me to tell.
Oh,
I don't know how. I don't know. I would never. You were going through some things, and so I don't want to.
yeah. So you invited me. You invited me to church.
I invited you to church.
Yeah.
And you just became, and I was so jealous because I invited him to my church, okay? Those little old ladies pushed me out of the way to get to him. And I'm like, hello. But no, they loved you. From the moment you walked in, everyone just loved you.
Yeah.
And you were just part of the family from the very beginning, you know?
Yeah. And they have been so loving and accepting and everything, despite anything that has transpired in anybody's life. So what's interesting is a few months after I was there, there was a lady in the church that came up to me, and she said, she introduced herself to me, and I introduced myself to her, and we started talking about my circumstance of what I was going through. I was going through my divorce at the time. And as I was telling her a few of the details, her eyes got really wide. And she said, "Is your sister-in-law blank?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "A year ago, I heard about your divorce from your sister-in-law. And here I was sympathizing with your ex, but in my mind, I was praying for you." And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a serendipitous Holy Spirit type of thing.
That is very.
Where I would not have stepped foot in to Highland Oaks if it wouldn't have been for you. So you came into my life to introduce me to a loving church family and to someone who had been praying for me that I didn't know was doing that.
Because sometimes churches don't look at on divorces, you know, and you were having a hard time. And I said, you know what, if you would come to my congregation, you wouldn't have these problems. And you did, and you didn't.
Yeah.
The rest is history.
The rest is history.
Yep.
Yeah. It's fantastic. And you're
But I do
here
notice
on my show today.
I do notice a few more gray hairs.
Yeah, a few
there,
more
Matt.
grays. Yeah, well, that's having
That's
4
teenage
kids.
kids,
I was about
yes,
to say,
absolutely.
That's 4 kids, having one
Absolutely.
overseas and all that sort of
Absolutely.
stuff. It's just crazy. Thanks for tuning in to the Matt Hilton Show today. Tune in next week for the second half of Kathie Truitt's story. Also, please subscribe to the YouTube link below.
If you'd like to contact Matt or know a fascinating person with an inspiring story that would make a great guest, reach out to the show at themattHiltonshow@gmail.com.